Hey guys, you're watching VaulSC. Welcome to another bat rep. This time it's going to be between SunTze, the mighty and wise leader of the Imperial Service, and of course Joan, the very charismatic and passionate leader of PanOceania. And it will be on the mission Decapitation. Again, played it last time, playing it again. But I have to say that this bat rep is going to be special. It's going to be a really interesting one because it takes a lot of interesting twists and turns that were unexpected. It ends up being very exciting. And honestly, this game has got to be one of the most ridiculous games of infiNity that I've maybe ever played in the last 5 years of me playing infiNity. And I play infiNity a lot. So please, if you like my bat reps, try and stick around to the end of the video because this one gets, it's fun. Really been looking forward to doing this bat rep. Just played yesterday. So we're going to go through the lists. We'll talk about the scenario a little bit. I'll talk briefly about Spec Ops because we are practicing for a tournament next month, where the Spec Ops variant will be used in ISS. That's where you can create a customized line trooper which may have skills and abilities not normally available, and you can include that in your list for just the same points as a line trooper. So, hope you guys enjoy this one. Stick with me. It's going to be a blast. Let's jump into it. So my list is an experimental list, and at the moment I've been thinking a lot about Spec Ops, and there are a few different approaches. I'll talk more about Spec Ops in a later video, but for this game, I'm just going to run the Celestial Guard Spec Ops by himself, not even really needing to be involved in a link team. He's got the Doctor and Engineer skills and a hacking device and +1 willpower, which rounds out at 12 experience points. The thinking here is that he does what a soft deck does, although the soft deck's better at surviving and fighting, but he only costs 15 points. On top of that, you get a hacking device, which you otherwise have to pay a whole chunk of points for, so he saves you a whole lot on that as well. And the extra point of willpower is really, really nice. So he's very useful for classified missions like countermeasures. We'll be playing that in the event. He's also very good for saving your points elsewhere across the board so you can invest more stuff. And if you're running more Celestial Guards, he can form a link team with them. I mean, conceivably, in this particular list, we could swap the Celestial Guard control device from one group to another group, and he could group up with the other Celestial Guard, and there'd be a team of 3. But that's not really the idea. Just comes with a UD bot. So again, we'll talk more about Spec Ops in a later video, but this list features this particular guy. Now, the real eyebrow-raising thing today is that I'll be running SunTze, and I want to talk about SunTze a little bit because over the years, I've always looked back at this guy, and I've played him in a few games, and I've always found that except for very large games like 400, 500 points, it's not worth including him because he's too expensive. When you evaluate units, or at least when I evaluate units, I'm looking at how well they perform a particular function or role. Do they attack quickly? Do they clear arrows? Do they provide arrows? Do they provide additional orders very cheaply? Are they a specialist? Now, SunTze doesn't really do any particular one thing extremely well or cost effectively. He's a very useful lieutenant, so willpower 17, you're much more likely to win the face-to-face role for a lieutenant. That's very important to me because for a lot of the missions playing these days, winning the dice roll is very, very important. Secondarily, Strategos level 3 is a very powerful ability if you are the one deploying first. Now that may be the case if you're jumping straight to first turn because the scenario requires you to take first turn, or if you're jumping directly to second turn and you have to deploy before your opponent, being able to hold back a couple of reserve troopers and force them to lay down their reserve trooper is very important. Also, if you're trying to defend against like an Avatar Speculo combo or Saladin and the Fides, having that Strategos 3 to counter their Strategos 3 can be very, very useful. But even that isn't quite worth the 65 points you pay for the multi-rifle version, which seems the most appealing. Then when it comes to attacking and shooting, he just starts your deployment zone with BS-12, and for 65 points, you're not really getting much guns there. So over the years, I've thought, well, never really going to take SunTze. Now, the most important thing that's changed with them, of course, is the introduction of the total immunity buff. So he's gone from armor 4 to armor 6, effectively, and he doesn't have any immunities, he doesn't have any vulnerabilities like McMurrow does against Viral, for example. So you can now place him in a spot where BTS 6 becomes armor 6 as well in cover, and he's just that much more survivable. So it makes him even more appealing. Then there's the fact that some of the new missions and so forth, I'm just finding winning the lieutenant role matters so much. And having something which can defend so well, and he can defend very well with the combination of total immunity and the flash pulse willpower 17, I want to start trying him. So this is an experimental sort of list. Everything else here is pretty standard VaulSC ISS, right? You get 8 Guangxi control devices in each group. I've included Major Luna now just because marksmanship level X has become a lot better, and you've at least got something which can ARO starting in marker state, so you don't have to crack it out immediately. It can be a hurdle for your opponent to jump over attacking. The obvious Ninja Killer Hacker, Dakini Takbot, and Rushi. I want to have a couple of different attack pieces in both groups. Assisted Fire can go into either of them thanks to the Celestial Guard Spec Ops. Yudbot can help out with the engineering on either of them because he can be on 2 spaces of the board at once. A couple of bots here, of course, yeah, actually I forgot the Garuda. I didn't scroll down. This is quite a big list. So the Garuda attack bot really gives me another way of attacking, and the cool thing about the Garuda is that you can move up the board with your Urushi in Group 1, and then after it's spent its orders, you can spend a last order using its repeater to daisy chain the assisted fire onto the Garuda and then spend another group's orders attacking them. You can also place smoke templates with your Celestial Guard in certain spots to allow your Garuda to come around for the side of the board without being shot, and then he just simply makes his way around the smoke template. So this is a fairly experimental list. I do have a secondary list that I wanted to run and that I would have run against this particular opponent had I played him in an event, but I wanted to try out SunTze first and foremost. So let's go to my opponent's list, where he's running a list that you have seen before on this channel, but a couple of things have changed about it. So this is the notorious and very much feared Seraph plus Cutter plus Joan of Arc list, where the bulk of the points are in these 3 specific models, and she just barely gets away with it because PanO now has a bunch of guys that are irregulars and are therefore a lot cheaper, which can then be regular. So Monstrucker, Hellot, Walk, or Tech B, a really good cheap combo there. Now, the 2 main differences. Number 1, he's dropped something from this list to be able to include his Spec Ops, which is a Mine Layer, a Jammer, Decharges, Engineer, and Drop Bears. So that's a pretty good jack of all trades. The secondary Engineer, even though he's got a Monstrucker, is nice. Loses 1, the other one can potentially revive the tags. The Jammer and the Mine Layer, definitely useful if you're going second, just to try and fend off things that might try and come and kill your tags in close combat. Honestly, it's very, very strong. The secondary change here is not really with the list, but with the rules in general. Both tags now have tactical awareness and aren't increased in points cost, which is ridiculous, Corvus Belly. What are you doing? So this list is a skew list. One thing I'll say here is that if your opponent has a lot of jammers and Emorats and EM grenades and a lot of assault hackers and marker state and hidden deployment missile launchers, if the tags don't do well, the list doesn't do well in general, and it's sort of like a feast or famine in that regard. So if you guys are planning on copying this player and running this list yourself, by the way, I'd recommend that if you like tags, because it's a very strong list. But if you are going to do that, think carefully about what other list you'll back it up with. Have another list ready to go if you know your opponent's just going to have all of the counters and you're going to run into the teeth of that. So have a secondary list with a lot of stuff that's not really going to face that liability, right? So yeah, it is a skew list. It can be feast or famine, but again, it's very powerful. And before the buffs, it was already a very strong list. Now it's even more of a strong list. And again, if your opponent doesn't have the counters, doesn't play around what you've got, you can really steamroll some people with this, because on ARO, if they can't outgun your cutter, and very few things can, you're just going to defend your deployment zone so well with it. And then when it's their turn, okay, they've got a free move up with their Joan of Arc Lieutenant order from Inspiring Leadership. Then he's got his Tactical Awareness order. Then you've got another 10 orders on top of that. So 12 orders of either a Seraph jumping around over buildings and shooting you from the right angles, or the cutter just coming through and sweeping everything because you can't really deal with it. Very, very scary. Let's go on to this game, and I promise you guys, this game is a doozy. So, playing Decapitation, once again, you both have to deploy a designated target out in the field, and if you kill your opponent's designated target with your data tracker, you get like 3 points. Note also that the deployment zones are wider, which is even more crushing for a tag list like this. So, you've got the long deployment zones, then there's another little area, so we're going to be putting our designated targets out in the midfield and going after them. Also 3 points for more army kills, and then 4 points for killing their lieutenant. Now, it's Joan of Arc versus SunTze, which makes it very cinematic and very sort of movie style, because these are very well-known and renowned characters, and very tough characters and hard to kill. So, who will decapitate the other? Okay, now, the dice are rolled. Okay, and I'm willpower 17. Joan, I believe, is willpower 15, although I'm just going to quickly go and check that. Willpower 15. Okay, so it's close. You pay a lot of extra points for willpower and a lieutenant, and at least I think you do. And I like to think that will pay off, but in this particular game, I do not win the lieutenant role, which is a bit agonizing because I felt like this was going to be a hard matchup if I didn't. Again, I've got another Imperial Service list, which I probably would have played if I'd run into this particular opponent in a tournament game. So my opponent chooses first turn right off the bat, which is the correct choice. You do want to do that for this mission. This mission is not a good mission. It is not a good mission, partially because the lieutenant role matters too much. Also, the rules with the designated target, the fact you can move them as the first player to get them out of harm's way, the additional size of the deployment zones make this mission not very well liked by a lot of people. But still, my opponent plays it correctly, takes first turn, which means that I'll be able to set up on the side of the table you can see on the right over here, whereas he's on the left. But of course, he has to deploy first. Now, you can see straight away he's got his cutter in there already. Deploying it as a marker rather than hidden deployment, because he knows that he may want to move out with the Seraph and all of the Seraph's orders, so wants to be able to provide that right off the bat. So cutter on the right hand flank. Then you've got a few of these decoy helots. The real helot is actually the one over here. And then he's got the Monstrucker, Joan of Arc in the back here. He can't take any reserve troopers because of SunTze, Strategos level 3. There's a flashball spot there, another one right at the back. We've got a Warcore over here too. Techby, I don't think these are quite deployed yet. Seraph, the Seraph is going to be the data tracker for this game. And then there's a mine which is being laid by the Spec Ops, who's somewhere in the middle here. So that's a look from the right hand side. Going through the center, you can see again, Cutter, Monstrucker, Helots, Joan. Here's another view further to the field, so you can see the Spec Ops is standing to the left of the Seraph, and in the midfield over here, there's the designated target, which I will have to kill with my data tracker, who is going to be none other than the SunTze himself. There he is, right out in the midfield, just finding a place where it'll be hard for me to come around and flank him and get him. If things are going badly, though, I might just chop him up with the Garuda, possibly. And left-hand zone, you can see again he's correctly replaced, whereas Techby and Warcore have got to by the time I got around to taking these photos. So, flashball spot here, Techby, Warcore, and then you guys know what everything else is. My hidden deployment verification photo of my ninja. I am deploying on the extreme right-hand side, and this is a mistake because I just wasn't paying enough attention. So already one error from me. I saw this camo marker, and I didn't really go around and ask before doing this what he had. So for some reason I assumed that he had a Zulu Cobra in marker state, which he would use to move into the middle of the table and censor. So I put the ninja over here, which is a dumb thing to do. If I had simply just asked him, you know, is this a limited insertion list? Yes it is. Is that a Spec Ops? Yes it is. Does he have mine layer? Yes it is. Okay, that's a mine. And because he can't place any reserve troopers, I know that he can't have a Zulu Cobra, which is dumb. So he's got no sensor in his list whatsoever, and I've placed the ninja over here, which is, you know, a mistake from me. Let's just be realistic about that. Okay, now I've got a very large list, and I'm going to be taking an attack from 2 tags straight away, so it's just a real struggle to find cover for them. I only have myself to blame because I was the one responsible for setting up the terrain, and I've tried to make the deployment zones kind of defendable, but not super defendable. If you're in a meta where people are bringing 20 order lists and they're comfortably defending everything against, you know, really committed attacks, you might be doing your terrain layout a little bit long. wrong, I should say. Having said that, it probably would have been better if I'd made the deployment zone just a little bit more defensible, because they really do lack quite a lot. Bikini Attack Bot on the extreme left-hand side. The Guangxi with the yellow vests are in Group 1 and are a part of a link team. There's one on the other side of this, and that's the link leader there. So they are linked to this Celestial Guard with control device. Then you've got a bot over here. I think that's a sensor bot. The Spec Ops guy is over here. He's got his Yud bot elsewhere in the table. I could just barely fit that designated target past the line there, so she's out in the middle. We'll have to be flanked to be able to hit that. And then, so you can see through the back line that yellow-vested Guangxi is linked to this Celestial Guard there. Standing next to him is what I call the free-range Guangxi in Group 2 and not part of the link team. SunTze himself just deploying here alongside Major Luna, and they're both covering this middle alleyway here, and also this part of the battlefield where I know that a cutter is going to be moving through. Now my hope is that my opponent will try and spend some orders shooting at them, and will maybe spend 3 or 4 orders, if I'm lucky, trying to get rid of them, and at worst, you know, SunTze takes a wound, gets knocked back, and Major Luna dies, and then the turn ends. I'm happy for him to do that, plus pick off a few cheerleaders, because I'll have so many orders and so many tricks up my sleeve. Once it becomes my turn, finally, I'll be able to attack. Note that, and I will say this later in the video as well, if I had won first turn, things get really good for me, because he puts all of his troopers down. I still get a couple of reserve troopers. I can move up with Smoke and the Ninja and the Dakini and the Rushi, and it would be very easy for me to pick off a lot of cheerleaders. And then when he attacks back with just say like 5 orders and tactical awareness and Joan, there's just a limit to what he can accomplish, and the game would probably steamroll to an ISS victory. Right-hand side of the table, Rushi around the back, another free-range Guangxi, so we've got a couple of them around here, 1, 2, 3. Celestial Guard control device on the right-hand side, flashball spot there, who's got a very thin line over to the side of the battlefield as well. Yudbot from the Spec Ops next to Luna, and SunTze as well. So there you go, Garuda off the table, of course, just more of a close-up on my lieutenant here, who is going to be the data tracker, as I mentioned. There's his data pack token. And away we go. My opponent asks me if I would like to spend a command token, causing him to be restricted to only 1 command token for a coordinated order for this turn, plus Joan's order. Because I have advanced command, which allows me 5 command tokens, I decided to do it just because this is the kind of list that actually does benefit quite a bit from coordinated orders. I'd hate to think that he moves up with both tags on either side, spends the orders evenly between them, killing all of the free low-hanging fruit kind of stuff, and then coordinates them both right back, and I can't do anything about it. That would be awful, so just in case, I decided to spend the order. Cutter now moves through, and all he's really got to do is move to positions where he can see troopers. He is in line of sight of Luna at the moment. All I can really do is discover with somebody, and then he just moves past into this wall here. And I'm looking at my deployment zone and going, well, my opponent's not stupid. He's probably going to figure this out, that if he comes around here, he's going to be able to eventually come through and just start eliminating things left and right. There's nothing really here that can just shoot back at a tag and beat it. Maybe a chain rifle here or there, or maybe a lucky flash pulse, but he's going to get a lot of kills no matter what. So I was already regretting, you know, my armyless choice, regretting my layout of the table. Maybe I should have gone for a denser terrain, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to bend over and take it, as it were. And that's basically what happens. As the tag moves past here, it shoots the flash pulse bot in the distance, so we get 1 kill already over there, and then comes into total cover. Then he's able to move around and just start killing things, really. So that's the flash pulse bot on the extreme right-hand side of the field opposite him. Then he comes in, and this is quite an important moment in the game, because one of his first victims is this Celestial Guard in a link team. Now, we've got a full link team. The Celestial Guard is in cover. He's got a light smoke grenade launcher, and if he lands the smoke here to touch him, then that makes it more difficult for the cutter to come in and get angles on other things. So at short range, it'll be 14s with the link team bonus, 0 range band on 2 dice, and the cutter's firing on 12s and 4 dice. So odds pretty good for the cutter, 4 dice and 12s versus 2 dice and 14s. But it's an important moment, because if he just kills me, then he starts to build a lot of really powerful momentum. If the smoke template goes down, well, I at least salvage this part of the Link team. It's going to mean the Guangxi are not impetuous next turn, and I've got a smoke grenade launcher ready to go to help out later in the game. Unfortunately, though, he wins the face-to-face roll, and the shock rounds just kill my Celestial Guard, and that's it. So then he can move through, and sadly for me, in the back arc of the sensor bot here, so no flash pulse, he's able to fire at this Guangxi and remove it. I think I tried dodging a bit closer at one point, so he just shot me rather than going for the chain rifle. He is armor 8 after all. This flash pulse bot goes down. As he's moving through to do this, there are actually a couple of other Guangxi further up, and there was one moment in the game where he is able to spread his burst between like 4 models, one on each Guangxi and on the bot, and I think that there was some really rude situation where he managed to kill everything that he shot at. So losing like 3 Guangxi in a single order, flash pulse bot goes down. So we're starting to build up a tally. Flash pulse bot dead, sensor bot dead. I think I've lost 3 Guangxi now, so that's 5. Also, to make matters worse, there is a Spec Ops nearby which got shot as well, so that's a big loss. You've got your Spec Ops in your list, you don't even get a chance to use them, so that's at least half a dozen orders down already. So things are looking really, really bad, and the Spec Ops is the only thing that can hack the tag, so after he gets shot, I can't even use my repeaters. So in he comes, things looking pretty dire. We now move into a spot where he comes into line of sight of Major Luna. And I'm thinking, well, the game's just going really awfully. I need to start taking risks. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, perhaps I'll reveal Major Luna and have a go at shooting the tag. So that happens, right? Here you go, Major Luna shooting the tag. Now, my opponent is the kind of person that sort of feels really sorry for you if he's crushing you. And we had a talk about it, and we were trying to determine whether I was in long range or short range for this. We rolled the dice and it came up as a 9, and that would have been a crit if Major Luna shot from long range. And when we measured at what point the cutter would have come into line of sight, it was really borderline. So we ended up rolling a dice for it. You know, kudos to my opponent. He really wanted me to get the crit because he was feeling bad about like wiping the floor with my butt here, because I'm on track to lose this game very, very decisively. I've lost 6 models already. There's nothing that's going to really put damage on the cutter. A crit here would make things interesting, but I didn't want to take the free crit. I said, look, it's not clear as to whether I would have been in range or not. Let's 50-50 it on a dice. Rolled that dice, and the result of the dice was that I didn't get the crit. It was actually a miss. So the cutter does get at least 1 shot onto Major Luna. He's splitting his burst again on other things while he's doing this, and Major Luna does take a hit. But finally, I get a little bit of good luck, and I pass the armor save, and Major Luna just ducks back into cover, which is important. About luck. My opponent has been lucky in the sense that he's beaten the Celestial Guard with a grenade launcher, and he's killed a lot of Guangxi that didn't pass any dodge checks or pass any armor saves. But you're expecting the cutter to kill them anyway in these situations. It's unlucky that he did it so order efficiently, like he should be down an order or 2 based on what he's been trying to achieve. And it's definitely lucky that the tag killed everything so efficiently, but it's not really surprising, right? It's not really beyond the usual parameters of variance that you expect in a game like this. But it is fortunate that I at least managed to save Major Luna at this point. So Tag, feeling quite confident, moving around now. He's not even shooting at the designated target. He can save that for the Seraph, since the Seraph is the data tracker. So Tag going to come around here and eliminate SunTze, which will really basically put the coffin in the ground, so to speak. So comes around here and does get line of sight to this first Guangxi and SunTze. And I'm able to fire back with a flash pulse. He's able to fire at, I think, SunTze and the Guangxi. Why not, right? He's even shot at my Rushi in the back corner, the only thing that can really ignore the TO camo. which is painful because the Rushi goes down and I don't have a re-engineer anymore. So we're looking at the tally of things and it's like, God, 3 Guangxi, the 2 bots, the Celestial Guard, the Spec Ops, another Guangxi, the Rushi. There's about 9 orders already gone and gutted from my pool. You can imagine how I'm feeling at the moment, right? A lot of human beings, a lot of players are like, nah, throwing in the towel, not having any fun anymore. I'm sure you guys have played against these people in your meta. You know, the guy who shows up and he's like having a few bad dice rolls and he's having to take his models off the field and then he just flips the table, puts his models in his case, runs home, like, oh, there's no way that, you know, I could possibly come back into this game. It's just, I'm not having fun. This is awful. You know, infiNity sucks. I'm going to go back to playing 40k or whatever he might say. But anyway, I don't like to do that because even if I'm not having a good time and I'm you know, getting crushed, it's just so much more respectful to your opponent to try and have a smile on your face, crack some jokes, congratulate them for playing well, and, you know, and continue playing through the rules and make the dice rolls, because it's very rewarding for your opponent to get those kills. They've worked hard on their list. They've maybe committed to you know, showing up for the game, and they have you know, maybe they've played really well to get into the position they have. So you need to reward them by, you know, rolling the dice out. And it's very satisfying to your opponent to get kills at the end when they know they're winning. My opponent's the kind of person who sort of feels bad for you, but, you know, he'll still beat you. And anyway, back to the game. So the cutter's coming around the corner, firing at the Guangxi, firing at SunTze, does strip a wound off SunTze and kills the Guangxi, and then backs off. And we're getting to the end of the turn now. He does get to this point here where he's not really that concerned about going back into TO camo state. He's setting up a position where the line of sight will be around here. And he knows that no ninjas have been revealed so far, so he's feeling like he's pretty safe. The Guangxi are going to come around the corner impetuously and just die. And the tag being able to shoot down this pathway as well, I mean, what can really take him on as far as that's concerned? Although this is not the final location of the tag, he does move back a bit over to this little area here. So there you see him moving back here even further, just to try and stay safe. And he feels at this point that he doesn't really even need to be too careful about the tag, because he's got another one, right? Note that the Spec Ops guy over here is moving out. With the last couple of orders, he's coordinating with Joan's ability and just getting people to better positions, right? So, wow, what a devastating turn. And that's pretty much game, right? PanO really have won. When we add up my orders, I spend like 3 of my remaining command tokens to move 3 of my guys from one group, and they're the only guys left in that group, to this other group. And we work out that even with Strategos level 1, I only have like 7 orders. I think I've got SunTze, which counts as 2 orders. I've still got a couple of Guangxi there. I've got my Decap tac bot. I've got another Celestial Guard. And I've got Major Luna, who managed to pass an armor save. So like 7? So anyway, we're going to lose another order because the Guangxi moves out, having a bit of a laugh here. Cutter just blows him up with an explosive round. Nothing to see here, and he just dies. So that's fun. But yeah, what can I possibly do? After looking at it for a bit, I thought, well, you know, there's the psychological factor. The tags, you know, wrecked me, so the least I can do is try and get some revenge on them. The ninja's all the way on the other side of the table, so it's going to take the whole 7 orders to move around there and kill him. But, I mean, there's a very, very small possibility that my opponent might make some dumb mistake or have some extremely bad luck that will allow me to kind of get the game back to a point where it'll still be a loss, but at least I can save a bit of face and I can show that I tried and maybe find some opportunity for learning. So spending, I think, what is my last command token, I'm coordinating an order with a ninja moving out. The ninja does get discovered by a really long-range flashball spot trying to discover him there, and SunTze also using the movement to move out here, and Major Luna moving to stand up and cover this lane, which is important. So she's part of the coordinated order. She'll now at least cover this lane, which will help to defend my designated target, which still hasn't been killed. I now have to keep moving with the ninja. The ninja does actually have to avoid the flash pulse, and as I'm doing that, SunTze does come around here into close combat with the tag. Now at this point, because I'm not taking the game as seriously as I probably should, I kind of make a mistake here. I move SunTze around the corner with the first short skill and shoot a stun round at him, which is not very smart. The tag attacks me in close combat. The thinking with a stun round is that if I get the stun round off, it'll make it easier for me to kill him with a ninja without him critting me or something dumb like that. But that's really not a very good consideration. A better choice would have just been to multi-rifle him at close range, because I've got 3 dice, and an even better choice than that is just to idle initially and then use the second short skill to come around to close combat without having any face-to-face roll at all because of the zone of control shenanigans. So the tag wins the close combat, punches SunTze in the face, despite his armor 6, I failed the armor save, and that puts him into NWI, so he's really only able to sustain 1 more wound before dying. So that's bad. SunTze locked in combat. He's only got 1 wound left. The game's surely lost already, but even more so if he dies. But at least he's tied up here and the tag won't be able to fire at the ninja. So the ninja walks all the way around here and jumps into close combat. By the time I get there, I only have 2 more orders to spend on the ninja. 1 more after that to move SunTze to safety. And luckily, with an additional burst and critting on 14 pluses, he does destroy the tag. This is not that unlikely here because with 2 attempts with 2 dice each and with every hit causing 2 armor saves, it kind of multiplies out quite quickly, and the tag does get some crits there, does get whacked a lot of times, and you can see both SunTze and the tag bleeding oil and blood and whatever, you know, they secrete. So that's that. The ninja is left in this position next to the wall. That's going to be important, but SunTze is able to walk away into the distance. And in fact, no, he's not. I didn't even have enough orders for that. SunTze is locked here at the end of the turn. So there you have it. Now, my opponent has lost like 1 model, right? So he's still got 9 regular orders, plus the tactical awareness on the Seraph and Joan's order. So I'm like, come at me, bro. Finish me off, right? Let's see you do it. Let's just see you crush me. We'll pack up the models. We'll have an early night. So he's moving out with a Seraph. Now, I had to tell him, look, your Seraph doesn't have to go far before actually seeing the ninja, because I had to leave the ninja in this particular position, right? I could have stayed in close combat, but I decided not to. So the ninja is overlooking this position, so he's just moving out with the Seraph's order here to get line of sight on just the ninja, and not Major Luna or anything else, just the ninja, okay? I'm just going to open my curtain a little bit here. There we go. Now, the ninja goes to dodge, needing a 12, and the Seraph is firing at good range band, but minus for cover and TO camo, needing like 9s. So I had a shot at it with the ninja, and I rolled a 13, which is kind of frustrating because I needed a 12 to crit, and sadly the ninja dies. I was really hoping to get a little bit lucky there and keep the ninja alive, because that might have allowed me to sort of made some sort of similar play next turn to attack as Seraph and kill that with a ninja. But no, ninja just dies, and I really will just have so few tools after this. Wow, wow. Now, here comes the Seraph. Now, the Seraph is coming around to finish me off. He's going to come up here and just blast SunTze, and then we can pack up and go home. So he's moving past Major Luna, and moving around here, and feeling pretty confident, because the tag actually has an HMG. It's one of those tags. It's the new version of the Seraph, not the old one, because he doesn't want to have the attachment, the AUX spot. Yeah, the HMG version. So that's what he's got running. It's also cheaper. So firing at Major Luna with good range band, but -3 for mimetism, whatever she's got. So hitting on 12s on 4 dice. Major Luna hitting on 15 with 1 dice. So it's very likely that Major Luna will die here. But suddenly I get a little bit of good luck and roll a crit. Bam. Seraph takes 2 wounds because it fails the BTS check for the viral rifle. Now, let's just pause here and say, is this a mistake from my opponent, from the Seraph player? Would it have been better for him to be a bit more cautious and maybe go around the other way and retain cover and shoot at the short range band for both of them? Probably. I mean, we can nitpick this, but seriously, you're not expecting Luna to win, and you're not expecting, you're certainly not expecting her to do 2 face-to-face rolls here, and you've only taken 2 wounds here, and you can attack her again. So she's not going to crit. Well, she's not unlikely to crit twice. And the tag's got some decent BTS anyway, and even if you do get crit, you might pass the second BTS check. But, you know, what happens, happens, and Major Luna's got the hit there, which is a crit, and he does fail the additional BTS check and is left with just 1 wound. But of course, he can spend another order on the tag and move behind this this wall here, right? So moves out behind the wall. And incredibly, Major Luna wins the second face-to-face roll as well, and the tag dies. So we're both scratching our heads and going, hang on, that was a bit lucky by Major Luna. I mean, I have had a few unlucky moments in the game, but just generally it's been unfortunate. My opponents played well, and this was likely to happen with this matchup in this table, and they, not getting the first turn. But suddenly we're in a position where my opponent's lost both tags. I've got like very little left myself. He can still do a lot of damage with Joan of Arc herself, but yeah, neither of us were really expecting that to happen. We'll come back and talk a bit more about whether this play with the Seraph was a mistake, but you guys might like to comment as to, you know, what you would have done with the Seraph, and, you know, if you're feeling very overconfident because you're just thrashing your opponent, usually you might take little risks like this, and subconsciously some people feel like giving their opponent to have a chance to come back into the game because it would be more fun for both players if, you know, one player sort of just starts to come back into contention again. Anyway, the Seraph is down, and the Cutter is down, and I've got, like, you know, 5 models on the table. So, yeah, life goes on. The Seraph, by the way, one of the reasons why he had died to Major Luna, is that after the first short skill, he uses his second short skill to come further around, and seeing that the Guangxi was going to fire a pistol at him, he allocated one of the shots to the Guangxi and the other 3 to Major Luna. So it's 3 dice on 12s versus Major Luna's 1 dice on 15, just because he was paranoid about dying to a pistol shot. And that's part of the reason why Major Luna was able to win the second face-to-face roll as well. But the HMG does knock out the Guangxi, so realistically, I mean, after this turn, I'm going to have, what, 4 orders or something like that? 4 models left? My opponent has now had enough of Major Luna and all the good luck and moves over with his Spec Ops to come in and take her on. And by doing this, he's also coordinating out as well to move the Monstrucker around. Note that Major Luna is covering this line of fire here. And I've got SunTze, which is also covering some of this, and there's the Guangxi with Dogged and a pistol covering over there. So if he just spends orders moving the Monstrucker around, there's a possibility he might lose the Monstrucker. So he's planning on coordinating out with the Spec Ops guy and going after Major Luna to kill her, and then he'll be able to come around and engineer his tag and bring it back to life, which will allow him to coast to victory. So he comes in here and he attacks Major Luna with the Spec Ops combi rifle. They all come with a combi rifle standard. So what have you got there? Ballistic skill 12, plus 3 for range, minus 3 for cover, minus 3 for mimetism, netting on 9s on 3 dice. Major Luna also, you know, 0 range span, minus 3 for cover, a 9 on 1 dice. So what happens in this shootout? Major Luna manages to win again. She's been practicing. I've never had such a good Major Luna game, and I don't think I ever will again. But she has won 2 face-to-face rolls against the Seraph. She's passed an armor save against a Cutter, and now she's shot dead a Spec Ops Fusilier at optimal range bands for the Fusilier. So, well done, Major Luna. Well done. And my opponent's sort of scratching his head and going, huh, that's another engineer dead. Major Luna's still alive. Don't quite have enough orders to realistically and safely cure the Seraph and move it to safety. Suddenly this is looking like a little bit of a close game again. Now moving out with his Joan of Arc, Monstrucker, just getting into better positions. Joan of Arc moves around here to get ready to take on Luna as well, and I believe doesn't even manage to kill Luna with Joan of Arc either. The face-to-face roll happens, Major Luna manages to survive, guts check back into cover. Turn ends, and Joan of Arc is just hanging out there. She does manage to find a position where she's in total cover, but sadly, this was a very, very strong turn for Imperial Service, even though it was the PanO turn. So yeah, we're looking back and just wondering how the game got to this point. First turn, totally one-sided for PanO. Second turn, a little bit of a clawback killing the Cutter, but it put a lot of my guys out of position. Third turn, that's the PanO turn number 2. This happens, and he's starting to throw, and he's losing his Spec Ops and his Seraph in the same turn and not getting any damage done. Having said that, though, I'm still dropping a Guangxi, I've dropped a Ninja, I've really only got 4 live models on the table here. Note that in this photo, I had gutsed over to this side of the door. I decided to change my mind and guts to the other side of the door, and then retook the photo so I could just clarify where Major Luna actually was. Okay, so there's Joan of Arc's final position. She's got all of her wounds available to her. When it comes to her third and final turn, she's going to be able to move out there and kill a designated target and go after SunTze. She's easily going to beat SunTze in a firefight. So, I mean, what can I do at this point? Can I kill her? After thinking about for a bit, I decided to make the play, and this is a risky play, but if it pays off, I can actually come back into the game and win. Unbelievably. So a Garuda appears on the side of the table. In my previous turn, as in turn 1 for ISS, I was just kind of considering bringing him on as a drop down the back, because he's got no hackers, and if I landed in just the right spot, I might be able to come around the corner, kill a cheerleader, and then get line of sight to Joan of Arc, shoot her in the back, and if I got her enough times, maybe I could kill her. But I felt like the odds of doing that were going to be really low, because I'd have to land the thing, I'd have to beat some flash pulses first, I'd have to have enough orders to kill Joan, she'd turn around and start shooting back at me. It wouldn't be great. So I decided with a ninja play against the cutter, because let's face it, if you put your opponent into Lost Lieutenant, it doesn't matter for the scenario. So even if I'd killed Joan in my first turn, his cutter still being alive with the Seraph probably would have just finished the game there and then. So turn 2 for Imperial Service, the Garuda appears just barely out of line of sight of Joan, and the thinking is to just spend all of the orders that I have available to me just to move to here specifically where Joan won't have cover and just shoot at her round after round after round. It'll be good range ban for both of us. He will be +3 range, -3 mimetism, and I'm just +3 range. So we're both hitting on 15s, but I've got 4 dice to his 1 dice. Interesting. Note that the number of orders here are limited. The Garuda brings his own order onto the table, but other than that, I've got, I think, 2 orders for SunTze. I've got a Celestial Guard, that takes me to 3. I've got a Dakini, that takes me to 4. And I think I might have had 1 more Quangshi, yeah, so 5 orders to spend on top of the Garuda landing. So first order, we move out, Garuda comes into range and fires at Joan of Arc, and immediately he gets 3 uncontested hits. I'm thinking, yes, good start, alright, great. Joan of Arc with her armor 5 order, if she's got a 6, passes 2 armor saves immediately and takes 1 wound, and I'm thinking, gosh, okay, it's only going to take 1 hit for Joan and the Garuda's down. And the last thing you want to do is spend like 4 orders trying to kill her and then die. I'd much rather die straight away. And in fact, that's actually what happens. I got my wish. So Joan wins the next face-to-face roll, despite only having 1 dice, and the Garuda just dies, okay? So 2 orders already down the drain. Joan is scratched. She's a little bit wounded, but she's not dead. So what the hell can I possibly do? Dakini TACbot moving around now, and my thinking here is that at the very least, I've got to try and kill his engineer, because if the Seraph comes up, then that's it. It's all over. So Garuda moving around here, not Garuda, TACbot, and it's going to be able to fire at his Monstrucker and at his Flash Pulse bot in the background there. So luckily I had just enough orders to advance up the flank, fire at these guys, and I at least managed to kill the Monstrucker. Didn't get the Flash Pulse bot, but got the Monstrucker, and that's going to subtract 1 of his available orders next turn, and it's going to mean that he definitely can't revive either of the tags, and that is kind of a big deal. Moving further in here, he's taking on the Helot, does manage to destroy the Helot, but gets Flash Pulsed after that, and my opponent's left with Joan of Arc, 2 Flash Pulse bots, Walker on a Tech B, plus of course the Lieutenant's a special coordinated order that it can do. So effectively 6 orders worth of moving and shooting, if you look at it that way. Woof. Okay, game turning into be an interesting one. Joan of Arc's still there, and we have 1 more turn. So with my last order, moving SunTze around. Now, I had to think really carefully about this. He starts over here. The problem with that spot is that Joan can move through here, shoot whatever's in the way, and then come around the corner into close combat with him and just kill him. And that would be a disaster. I mean, even if I fire my Nanopulsar, she could just dodge and then attack him, or just tank the Nanopulsar save, because she's got 2 wounds left. So that's really not going to be something I want to do. If I move him to here, though, I have to think about whether standing here and just covering these angles, and just force Joan to come all the way over. But the problem is, if she gets 1 good volley in close range, or if she gets into close combat, I'm dead, because I've only got 1 wound left. So I picked this specific situation, this specific positioning, because he can fire through here with his Flash Pulse, and he has a Willpower 17 Flash Pulse. And if Joan fails that BTS check, she's stunned. This next turn is the last PanO turn, and that means that she will not kill SunTze. Note that SunTze costing 65 points and me having another 34 points left on the board in the form of a Dakini TACbot and a Celestial Guard, plus another 5-point Quangshi, and Major Luna. I'll actually have more points on the board than Joan does at this stage, because he's lost a couple of cheerleaders plus 2 massive tags, and SunTze costs more than Joan of Arc. So if he doesn't kill anything in his next turn, I actually win. but he is likely to kill things because he's going to have 5 orders worth of Joan moving around and killing me. So with this positioning here, I can at least attempt to flash Joan as she comes around, slowing her down, and I still have line of sight to these 2 other flanking angles where he might come by. I also have the benefit of this yellow box here for cover, so with armor 6 from total immunity plus 3, that's armor 9 effectively, so being able to survive against her furious rain of fire from the multi-rifle and ignoring armor piercing, I think I might be okay. Maybe. So Joan has a think about what to do, okay, and after a little bit of thinking and calculating, Joan's just going to go for it. She's going to stand up and fire her multi-rifle because if he gets 1 wound through, game over. SunTze is dead. And she thinks about doing that because if she just moves out, she's going to come in around the range of the flash pulse. And it's very iffy as to whether this distance is in 24 inches or not. Neither of us could really be 100% sure. So, heart's pumping. Adrenaline's up. We're rolling the dice. Joan stands up. It's an epic battle between the 2 glorious leaders of Yuqing and PanOceania. Multi-rifle versus Willpower 17 Flash Pulse. We measure the range, and it turns out to be just short of 24 inches. So I'm unfortunately -3 for range, -3 for cover. 17 goes down to an 11. Multi-rifle also long range, and is not ignoring mimetisms. That's -9. 15 minus 9 is a 6. So it's 1 dice on 11 versus 3 dice on 6s. Now, that's actually still not bad for me, because if he only gets 1 hit through, my chances of passing the armor save are very good, and if I was to roll, anything below a 12, it's pretty possible for me to win the face-to-face roll, to be honest. First face-to-face roll occurs. I managed to whiff it. He manages to get 2 hits through. I'm thinking, damn, the game was really going well to this point. SunTze's dead. What can I possibly do to win? But tanks both armor saves. Hey, SunTze, total immunity. Now, the bravery of this leader, the bravery of Yuqing, decides not to guts prone. He's going to stay there and take it again for the team. And Joan can't afford to move out of cover here, because if the willpower shot turns into a 20 needed versus her 4s, not really looking good for Joan of Arc, because it's very likely that SunTze will just win, take no damage, and she's going to take a BTS check or be stunned. So Joan has to just stand up and shoot again, and if she doesn't kill him here, she's just going to have so much fewer orders to spend going after him, and she's never going to get over there into close combat. SunTze again whiffs the roll. Joan gets a single hit through, rolling the dice. It's a pass again. SunTze survives, and this time he does do the tactical and strategic thing of ducking back behind this yellow box prone with his guts check, because she's already expended 2 orders. She doesn't have enough left to get round to him and kill him from close range. Really big deal. So there's a close-up portrait photo of him doing very, very well. He's been in some really hot conflicts this game. The lieutenant, the data tracker, is worth all the objective points. He's worth everything, and he's still there. Okay, Joan now moving out. Note that if I just come back a few photos, I'll show you something else. This Decap attack bot is in this position by the end of my turn. So it would have had line of sight to this yellow-green crate over here. So if Joan comes around this side, she does have to contend with shots from the Decap and pistol shots from the designated target as well. Okay? So Joan now needing to move out. Moving out here initially, not coming into line of sight of anybody. Moving out over here, she's forcing a forcing a zone of control ARO change as she comes through here. And avoids any contact so far, but then she's going to have to do another move. She's got 3 orders available to her and everything. So with her second move, she comes over to here, and this happens in line of sight of the designated target with the stun pistol, and the Major Luna, and the Quang Shi sitting here as well. So Joan's going to wait to see what they do, and then spread her burst around. The designated target goes for a long-range shot with the pistol, needing like a 6 to hit. And I think Joan puts a single shot into it. Major Luna is going to engage. So Joan kind of has to do something about that, because if the engage works out, then she's got to spend an order just freeing herself from close combat. She will kill Major Luna by doing that, but she doesn't want to lose that last order because she needs it to go after SunTze from the other angle. And the chain rifle goes off on Joan, which she's just going to ignore. She's got some armor and she's got another wound, and she just needs to kill SunTze. So everything happens simultaneously. The chain rifle goes off. I believe Joan actually takes a wound. Major Luna fails the engage and gets hit by 2 multi-rifle rounds and dies. The designated target whiffs the shot, but Joan fails to kill it with her gun. That would have only been worth like 1 objective point anyway. And what really matters is the 3 objective point swing from army points, or the 4 objective point swing from lieutenant kills. So that's the prize that we're eyeing up here. Last order of the PanO game. Joan of Arc moves around and fires at SunTze long range. SunTze will barely have cover, I think. Joan of Arc will have cover as well. She does, I believe, get into good range with her multi-rifle. The flash pulse will also be hitting on a 17 now as well. And Joan will need like 12s. So this is kind of desperate from Joan, and as you guys can sort of feel, yeah, it's a much easier face-to-face roll to win from SunTze now that he can actually hit on a 17. But what happens? Joan rolls the crit. Lights out. GG. I thought I could do it, like contending it right up to that point. But Joan played well, she played bravely, and SunTze, the glorious leader, falls. And unfortunately, with like 2 or 3 models left, Joan of Arc is victorious here and wins the day for PanO. But to come back to this point from that initial game, that sort of first turn run, was pretty incredible for Major Luna, earning a Medal of Valor. But is the game over? There's one last turn to play out. So let's have a look. The Guangxi comes around the corner with its Impetuous. And I may have got my reporting wrong in that last few orders there. I think what happens here is that Joan did pass the armor save against the Guangxi as it ARO'd her, but in my last turn, as it Impetuous is around the corner, the chain rifle goes off on her, and that is what inflicts a wound on her, not from the previous round. So I looked at it and I thought, well, hang on a sec, Joan's now down to her last wound, and I've got like 3 orders left, and I'm not in Lost Lieutenant, that's not how it works in this scenario, so I've got a Decap attack bot, 1 Guangxi, and a Celestial Guard control device. It's 3 orders. And technically my lieutenant order would have bounced around to one of these guys as well. And the Impetuous order didn't cost me anything. So initially moving out with the Celestial Guard to here, and I'm about to get Flash Pulse from great distance. So I'm firing a smoke grenade to block that. And then with the last 2 orders, maybe I could move into Combi Rifle range and fire the Combi Rifle from the Celestial Guard at Joan, because after adding up the points, hang on a sec, if Joan dies, he's got 2 Flash Pulse bots, a Tech B, and a Warcore, and that adds up to 24 points. But if you add the cost of the Celestial Guard control device plus the Decap with HMG, well, that adds up to like 34 points. So I would actually win if Joan dies here, so long as I don't lose either of my models in the process, and that could be hard. So Celestial Guard moves out, fires their smoke at least, but fails that, and the Flash Pulse bot hits me and blinded. So that plan's not going to work. So, tried to salvage the victory from the jaws of defeat. Didn't quite work. You have to have that last gasp, don't you? So, we're looking at packing up at this point. Then I'm going, well, hang on a sec, there's a Decap as well, so may as well play that out. The problem with the Decap is that you've got to actually go through both Flash Pulse bots and the Warcore, not the Warcore, the Tech B, and it's got to sort of not get blinded here. So, and it's gonna take 2 orders to get around. So the second to last order of the turn, Decap moves around the corner, comes into range of like 3 Flash Pulses, and just divides the shots evenly amongst them. So managed to beat one of them, the other one missed, and the final one actually beats me. So I've got to take a BTS check or be blinded again and have no way to kill Joan. And rolled an 11, so I think, oh, that's a fail. But then we looked it up, and Decanis have +3 BTS, naturally, so I passed it. So then I can spend 1 more order moving around to fire at Joan, right? So the Decap comes in, and has one shot at Joan here. If the Dakini actually kills her, then that could be an upset. Note that the flash pole spots and Tech B and that can't actually do a wound to him. Joan can dodge or she can shoot back. Either one of those outcomes is going to be a win if she manages to do it. But yeah, looking at it, Joan probably has cover. In fact, I was charitable to my opponent. I wanted to give him cover here. So firing at her means I'm hitting on like 11s on 4 dice. And Joan's dodging on some absurd amount, like 15 or something like that. What's her ability on that? Like physical 15. So we roll the dice. Last order of the game. Joan ends up taking a hit. She manages to beat off the other 2 rolls that I made, and one of my rolls was a miss, but she takes a hit. So 1 dice roll hangs in the balance. What does she need to beat? The HMG, which has got armor 5. So with a bit of cover there, I think like an 8 is required, and the dice is rolled. Comes up as not an 8. She dies. That's it. I won. I won, guys. I made it. Ugh! Imperial Service, with just the Dakini and just the Celestial Guard left, have defeated PanOceania. SunTze gives his life. We're coming back from the jaws of that vicious, crippling defeat, with all of our models swept away in the first turn. Oh my god, what a story. What a narrative. After all of that, finally managing to beat the Tactical Awareness Tag Menace. Wow, what a game. So we're reflecting on that game and like, what went wrong there? That was just crazy. First of all, my list and the table layout is not very conducive to defending if I don't get first turn, so I need to bear that in mind. Maybe I need some assault hackers or better ARO pieces or something. Was my opponent's move with the Seraph a mistake? Was he mistaken not to pull back with the cutter? To be honest, I don't think so, to be honest. I kind of just got lucky in the mid-game. Sure, I mean, if you calculate a lot into that and, you know, just be very conservative, sure, that would have given him a better chance of winning, you know. Just get the easy kills with the cutter, run away again, go back into TO camo, your opponent can't do anything, just rinse and repeat next turn. There is a danger of recamoing in a spot where the ninja might just jump out and grab you. But yeah, I mean, if my opponent made any mistakes, it was those 2 things, right? But seriously, I mean, you can't fault how he played this game that much. I mean, he played pretty well. He was really trashing me. He should have won this game. How did I go? I made some pretty good plays as well. My positioning with the ninja at the start, terrible. My decisions with SunTze in a couple of spots weren't great. My deployment maybe could have been a bit better. My position on my Spec Ops definitely could have been better. I don't really know, man. Obviously, I had a different list that I could have run. But, like, all things considered, what a bunch of fun this game, and how cinematic was that? That was really down to the wire, and it just could have gone so much differently if anything had worked out differently there. For example, Major Luna being shot by the cutter earlier on, or by his Spec Ops, or just not getting the second roll off against the Seraph, anything like that. And then when it came back to me, SunTze could have easily shut down Joan of Arc and just had a really crushing win there with SunTze surviving and going on to kill his designated target at the end. But my god, guys, what a game. Tell me what you thought of this one. You do the like and subscribe stuff, I don't care. Really enjoy it when you guys watch the bat reps, but wow. Imperial Service. May or may not play him at the Spec Ops tournament, haven't decided on that yet, but, you know, with a bit of work, maybe they can do it. We'll see you next time.